show people your game. I've been to loads of conferences, and there's always a guy that kind of says, oh yeah, I've got this great idea. And I said, well, can I see it? And he goes, no, you've got to sign an NDA. And he won't show me his laptop. That's going to get you nowhere. It's just show people your game, talk about it at every opportunity, network, just stick it on the web, show early prototypes, because that's where your feedback will start. Don't hide your concepts away. Nothing you've got is that amazing, trust me, unless it really is. Show people, because that will be an important part of creating your game. Show people game, talk about your game as well. Guys from James Marsden from Future Lab, start telling people, what? Oh, is it crackling? Okay. Didn't see anyone else being told to put their bottle down. Think of interesting ways to talk about your game. Get on the blog, have a story to tell, and just find an approach and an angle of attack with the game you're working on. Go wider, and I'm going to draw back onto the comment I made about PlayStation Magazine and the Net Eurose titles going on the cover. First Play is a digital magazine we have on the network, and some publishers have sold their game into First Play as a sign-up incentive. So this was really interesting. So what they've done is they've sought revenue, not sales. So they've sold their game to the publishers of First Play, I think it's Future, and they've given their game out. And what we've seen afterwards is, and I'll touch on this when I talk about PlayStation Plus, is that when they've given their game away, but done so in a way that realises revenue for them, they've served two great causes. One, they've raised awareness of their title, and they've realised revenue against it. On a per unit basis, I don't think they would have done the same on an actual sale. But what they've done is they've done something very smart by doing that, and they've not lost out in the case of that. And I can't stress this enough. We really, really want to help. These are all actual kind of examples of how we market minis. There's PlayStation Home Space, the blog that every mini publisher can access and use to promote their game. We have there's an example there of us sending out. We use our PR resources to send out review code to the major news outlets. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got PlayStation Plus, which it's a new service. It's a subscription service we've had. But I can tell you that every game that we've put into PlayStation Plus, and obviously pay the developer for its inclusion, they've actually seen their sales go up as a result of that. So it sounds counterintuitive, but in no instance where content has gone into PlayStation Plus have actual sales gone down. In fact, they've actually gone up. So working with us on the PlayStation Plus service has actually allowed us to re-promote minis and give developers revenue. So and what this represents is thousands of pounds of media buying, and we'll give it you for free. We will, because we will love it, and because you're helping us sell games, and that's what we're here to do. Development flexibility pays off. I'm going to be very clear. Only a developer can say something like this and mean it. C++ is your friend. And what they're saying here is this is a guy called Ashman Eve, who's a very charming New Yorker, works with the guys at Subatomic Studios, field runners you'll be familiar with. They're one of our minis launch partners. And what Ash is saying here is that, I'd love to say that we live in a single platform world and it's PlayStation, which would be great. But we'd be benevolent. But we don't. And, we want you to thrive as a business. We can't pretend that there aren't other platforms out there. So when you start thinking about this, we'll be delighted and we'd love to have minis, you are as a minis first-time publisher developer. But if you're working on small games, work on a platform that will allow you to move it around and put it on different things. Using Flash is a really interesting guy. There's a guy called Mark Inman. They're a 2 or 3 man team from Camden. They do Flash games online. They created a game called Cahoots, which I'd strongly recommend you look at. It's a kind of puzzle game, a bit like Lost Vikings and Lemmings. But what they were doing is they were using Flash in a way to kind of prototype their levels. The exact quote is, my approach was to create a C++ layer which mimics the ActionScript API and tie PSP code beneath that. So what they were doing is they were using Flash to prototype, but then using that to then port to PSP. Again, porting middleware from Game Shastra. What they're doing is they're using iPhone, they're porting from iPhone to reduce their costs. But similarly, we've also seen projects go out as well. And I think the talk about Doodle Jump yesterday really helps. It's kind of really hammer home this point. Is that be smart with your ports and design for the platform that you're kind of writing to. So you may have content that works on other platforms, but for PSP and PS3 screen, it's worth being optimized. And this was taken from slides that presented at Casual Connect. So you're actually getting a grand tour of some of the international developer events as well while I'm here. Use DevNet and ski support, and I think this is actually one of the areas we're really strong in. I don't mind blowing other people's trumpets, if that's not a weird thing to say. Our technology group, Ski DevNet and our technology team want to help you make games. That's their only job. That's a raison d'etre. You pick up a phone, you send them an email, and they help. There are people at the end of the phone line at PlayStation that will help you develop your game. I can't be blunter than that, but that's actually what happens. I know it sounds like a magic dragon made of unicorn horns that kind of does this, but no, it actually really happens. And in 2 cases here, that they're a resource, but we also provide sample code for when you have tricky situations. We've been able to actually help development by just giving code to you to help make your game work. Oh yeah, and just a side fact here, I remembered why I was putting this, the game that they're working on, which is Cahoots, their art budget was 40 quid. It reminded me when I was looking at that, I should have put it somewhere else I think, but just a mini fact, the budget that I put together was just plasticine and models, and it was dirt cheap. DevNet is a community as well, so as well as the ski developer resources, it's a set of developers that will also help and share experiences. It's an open community with it under the kind of sign-in process of being a registered PlayStation developer. And I think Bernard says, this is his first game, by the way. There were 3 or 4 students, and he's saying, don't hesitate to ask and be specific with the questions. I took a bit of a risk here by putting a giant enemy crab with no massive damage in a PlayStation presentation. But again, what I want to emphasise here is get to know your third-party relations account manager. They're the guys that you'll interface with. Oh no, please don't take a picture of that. They're the guys that will be on the end of the phone, and they'll do 2 things. They'll help coordinate your technical feedback, but they'll also help you get to market, which is important for a kind of small team, because they'll tell you how to get on the store, what you need to do, help you with the timelines, be an advocate for you in terms of promoting your game on the blog, and they'll really help shape the kind of approach to market. Housekeeping. I'll give you a bit of a PlayStation Pro tip here. Minis don't need to be localized. That's another area that we kind of pull back some kind of typically console and platform control. So we don't require you to localize your game in any market. However, you do need to write a short description because we've got 28 PSN stores and 8 languages. And it's an amazing number of people that just submit in English. And it literally needs to be 2 sentences. This game does this. And if you don't localise your short description, you're definitely going to miss out on sales, and you will make gamers in Portugal cry. Self-publishing and ratings. I think this is another kind of tip that PlayStation opt into PEGI ratings, ESRB, 0. They're not legally enforced standards. I know other platforms don't require this of their publishers, but we do. It's not a massive hurdle, but if you are doing this and you're working on other platforms, it's worth bearing in mind. For a minis developer, this is something you'll have to do. More on ratings. The time that's suggested is as soon as you get to alpha and beta, as soon as you have code that's shareable. And I think it's a bit of a shame to say this, but PlayStation America and PlayStation Europe are a little bit different. They're 2 different companies. We have slightly different processes. Minis isn't a universal in this respect. They're only quirks. They're small, but be prepared for them. And these guys, Media Tonic, I've got video of their latest game here. But if I was racing that in the good old kind of style, I'd definitely give it a Crash Smash or a Zap Gold Medal. I think what's also interesting about this as well, which is another area we've been really relaxed in. If you're a minis publisher, there's no other control we exert on your content. And we'd be delighted to see that this actually was their first game for PlayStation. It is now published this week on Xbox Live Arcade, and I think that's a really genuinely great story, because what we are looking to do is we're looking to make people that make these small games, give them the leap forward and turn them into full-blooded console developers. These are the guys that are going to make our future Call of Duties, our Grand Theft Autos, and so we can see there's a definite opportunity and chance for publishers that go from making minis into broader console development. I'm coming to the end of it. I'm glad someone got a chuckle out of that. It took me ages to. Is it Porkins? Ironically, or not so ironically. Anyway, so of all these things, these processes, setting up a business, self-publishing, kind of housekeeping, localizing stuff, of all these things that you have to do, you kind of sometimes forget that you're making a game. So I'll give you, you are game makers. So what I'll do is I'll give you a couple of tips here. So think about your control scheme, do play tests on a target audience, and if you think you've got it nailed, you probably don't. And just retest and retest. Be different, have a hook. Ashmani said of a tower defense game. Their hook was their animated characters. And think about the game you're making. Make sure you have something that makes it unique, something that makes it different. And make it PlayStation. Again, talking to the point, design specifically for the platform. And draw your inspiration from everywhere. You're not going to. There aren't that. Someone told me there's only kind of 6 or 7 types of stories in the world. I don't know how many video games there are, but at least 3 categories of first-person shooter. And just go out and shop around for ideas, take influences from where you can. But the stuff that works really well and the stuff that's always sold well is that thing that has a little bit of PlayStation, Twitch, or for other platforms, those that reflect the greater characters of those platforms. Remember, it's dual format, so stuff that you're testing on your PSP won't necessarily control on PS3 and vice versa. So just give some thought that the game and the dev kit that you're working on is PSP, but remember they'll be going onto a big screen at some point. This was kind of interesting. Too many cooks. Think about, this was from Laughing Jackal. I think they've done 4 minis. Laughing Jackal, Cubic Star, no, 3. I think they're about to launch their 4th. I put this up here because minis is focused. We want to help publishers get ideas out and games out, which is great and noble. We also want to make you money. We want to help you become profitable and viable and sustain, pay your mortgage, put your kids in good schools. It's really important to us. So once you've got a good idea, stick to it. Don't pour too much into it. And I think this came out time and time again. I've just kept these 2, but keep to your budget. Be as innovative as you can, but you're working on a mini game. Really kind of don't focus on anything that's too big or elaborate. Nail your concept, get it out. People readily understand and identify concepts that they see and understand, and those are the things they'll buy. So, in summary, minis is low barriers to entry and low risk. We've seen profitability and sustainability in just that year. I think it's unparalleled in console development. You get full TPR support. Just because you're a minis developer, you're still a high priority for us. It's dual format, PSP and PS3. That's a large opportunity. You're targeting a dedicated PlayStation audience and distribution for games publishers. You're not competing with a world of apps. And amazing phenomenon though the App Store is, I guess it's quite easy to get your concept lost in that kind of as the app truck rolls up and dumps another 10,000 in. There are 100 mini games. You've got plenty of opportunities to kind of have your game exposed. There are plenty of co-marketing opportunities, and we will help you and will support you. And it is a chance to make amazing games. There's a summary here. If you just want to take this down, there's a free to public documents on process guidelines. Take it down tpr.ski.net. They're available for everyone to kind of download and use. Have I got time for video? I wouldn't forgive myself if I just kind of came out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the some minis games that we've got.